Let's rope in now Mr. Magic Nkhwashu, who is a political analyst, to try and help us understand, of course, what some of those names actually mean in the broader aspect. Mr. Magic, thank you so much for your time and welcome. Look, the list of those parliamentarians has just been submitted, irregardless of objections by various parties of the electoral results and looming court action. So let's first get your comments, and also what are some of the most notable inclusions as well as exclusions in these lists for you?
Good day, Alicia, and to the viewers. Indeed, the list that has been handed over by the IEC to the Chief Justice, it's an indication that the Parliament is ready to go ahead. As indicated, within 14 days after the elections were declared, there need to be a Parliament that sit in. In terms of the inclusion and the exclusion, it depends on the various political parties, how they have fared in the elections. You will recall that most of them, they went to the campaign hoping two-thirds majority and so on. So according to how they have performed, they have a number of seats that has been allocated to them, and that's how the seat has been allocated according on how the political party has performed in this election.
Now we know that Gwede Mantashe, Malusi Gigaba, David Mahlobo, Blaine Zimande, and Bejani Chauke, just to name a few, made it to the list, along with a slew of some what people would refer to as controversial names being part of that list. So what does this then do to the political narrative of those parties that do submit such names, Mr. Magic?
I mean, just yesterday, we know, for instance, that Zizikod appeared in court. He is number 18 on the list, and he has resigned as a cabinet minister. It's for the ANC. In terms of ANC, they've got a step-aside rule. It's up to the ANC now to look on how they revise the list, as it has been indicated in the program that there will be some amendments that might be done on the list, depending on how the objections might be put by various sectors of the community.
And now the other aspect of this conversation is, of course, the fact that voters don't have an actual say when it comes to these names. Is this not another avenue where their rights are then seemingly ignored, and maybe they should also have a say on who they elect to office, just like their choice of who they actually voted for in the first place?
Unfortunately, our electoral system is in such a way that you find that the political party is the one who chooses, and you find that most of those people are those who fail to deliver. They actually don't perform according to how they have campaigned. If, for instance, our electoral system can change, and maybe if some of our independents manage to make it on the list, maybe we would see some difference. With the current system, unfortunately, is the political party that chooses who goes to parliament, who goes to legislature. And we hope we will see some mix now that it's very clear that it's not going to be ANC with a majority. They have to work with other parties.
And that's exactly what I was coming to as my next point, Baba Magic. I mean, a lot of people are saying, isn't it premature then to submit those lists prior to the outcome of the actual elections? But I mean, there's also always been a conversation that the cabinet in its current form is over bloated, and I know that President Ramaphosa had promised to shrink the size of his cabinet, yet quite the opposite is fact. So questions of what exactly do deputy ministers do have been a prominent feature in such talks, and is this even a possibility now, referring to your latest point, as we're looking at a mixture in through a coalition government?
Unfortunately, we are looking at politicians who are there for themselves, not to service the community. It's all about themselves. I don't see, and it's a good opportunity for the new government to actually look at how they shrink, especially since we lack a proper budget for most of the services which the community require. National Treasury, it's always complaining that they don't have enough budget for this and that. We know that even our social grant are the ones which are carrying most of the families. We remain with high unemployment rate. The poverty level is continuing to increase. So it would be a good opportunity to actually shrink the government. President Ramaphosa has failed even with his promise, because he had to satisfy most of his alliance partners as well as comrades within the party. So I doubt if this new administration, the 7th administration, will be able to achieve that.
And in closing, Mr. Magic, I mean, commendable is, of course, the announcement, I'm sure you heard, of the representation of women in that list, over 170 this time around. But do you think it actually gives them power to be active in crucial decision-making processes, especially on issues affecting us as women, or they're just there for the proxy and as numbers?
In fact, the number, as it has been indicated, it has decreased a bit. They've just adding numbers. I mean, when you listen to political parties such as ANC, they say they always looking at balancing, making it 50-50. I hope the other political parties, which form 60% of the National Assembly, for instance, are also looking at this issue of gender. But Alicia, I think if we look at inclusivity as well as equality, I don't know how many people with disabilities are included in this, because we have seen some of them campaigning for these political parties. And as you know, that it will be difficult for some of these politicians to cater for the needs of people with disabilities without having them being part of the government.